Hello and welcome to Observer TV News. It's Monday, November 30th, 2009. I'm Shawn with Victoria Wells. Here are the top stories. Police in Washington State are closing in on the suspect in Sunday's multiple murder of Tacoma police officers. The Montreal Alouettes were victorious in yesterday's Grey Cup game. And vampires continue to suck the money out of moviegoers for the second week in a row. And now, our top story.
Police in Seattle, Washington are using gunfire, explosions, and a loudspeaker to smoke out a suspect in the death of 4 police officers. The 3 men and 1 woman were shot yesterday in a coffee shop in Tacoma. Tacoma is about a half-hour's drive from Seattle. Police say one of the officers managed to shoot the attacker before he died. The officers were working on their laptops at Forza Coffee Company when they were ambushed. Police think the attack was targeted. They are looking for 37-year-old Maurice Clemens. They say he has a history of violence against police.
New allegations have come to light surrounding the treatment of animals at the Toronto Humane Society. Investigators with the Ontario SPCA are now claiming cats in the shelter have been eating food that expired as far back as 6 years ago. This is just the latest development in the story of animal cruelty unfolding at the River Street shelter. Last week, the president, board of directors, and 4 senior managers were arrested and are now facing numerous charges. There are also reports donation money could be used to cover the legal costs in the defense of the accused. As of this morning, the shelter remains closed, with the OSPCA unsure of when or if the shelter will go back in the hands of the Humane Society.
Police are investigating 3 stabbings at a Scarborough bubble tea shop yesterday. Police discovered blood dripping down the window of Destiny Tea Cafe near Midland Avenue and Steeles Avenue East early yesterday morning. They found a man inside bleeding from arm wounds. Later, 2 men walked into Scarborough Grace Hospital with injuries from the same incident. One was stabbed in the stomach, the other was wounded in the back and head. They'll be okay. Police haven't announced a motive for the stabbings.
In national news, divers have recovered the bodies of 6 people missing after a plane crash in British Columbia's Gulf Islands. The float plane was carrying 8 people when it crashed after taking off from Lyle Harbor. The 6 victims were trapped inside the wreckage. It sank 11 meters into the water. The pilot and 1 female passenger were rescued shortly after the crash. One is in stable condition while the other has serious injuries. They are both expected to recover.
Centennial College students at the Center for Creative Communications played host to some unwanted and unexpected guests this fall. Luke Champion has the report.
Students have returned to Centennial College this fall to find a new menace terrorizing their school. Bees, Mother Nature's striped minions of reproduction. Centennial College has become overrun with swarms all over the center quad. As purveyors of gooey sweetness, bees are a cornerstone of the food chain. But for many, they're also a source of terror. Allergies to bee stings are a cause for legitimate concern, but many people have what seems to be an unnatural fear of bees.
Bees, wasps, hornets, anything that's like stinging, I don't know. It's like when I was 15, I went on a canoe trip and camp, and I sat on a wasp and the truck on the way, and ever since then I've been deathly afraid. So afraid that one time I had my little guy who was 18 months old in my arms, and a bee landed on my shirt, and I dropped him face first onto the sidewalk. I think I should have been taken away by Children's Day, because that's ridiculous, but petrified.
As they go from flower to flower collecting pollen, many people avoid confrontation. Experts say that as the weather changes, they will disappear, but for now, steer clear.
Luke Champion, Observer Television News, Toronto.
Next up, we take a visit to the Resource Centre. More than just a library, it's one of the most important places in student life. Steve Darley reports.
It's a busy month at Centennial College. September always is. Here at the East York campus, the Center for Creative Communications, new students hit the Resource Centre looking for information. Library staff spend the first few weeks of the full semester answering all kinds of questions, from the simple how to take out a book to something trickier using the web.
The collection of print books appears to be quite small, but actually it's very tightly focused on what's taught here. And there's a lot of depth and richness to it, so I would encourage students to come and have a browse in your particular subject area.
New books appear each year and are simple to find. Besides books, a lot of resources are available for students online. Things like databases and online catalogs. Library staff recommend newcomers get familiar with the resources as soon as possible.
So there you have it, a library full of resources, both print and online, for all the students both new and returning here at Centennial College. The library technicians such as Marianne, who we just spoke to, are here to help, and we encourage all the students to take advantage of them as much as possible. This is Steve Darley, Observer Television News.
A senior government official says Ottawa will pass back-to-work legislation today to end the CN rail strike if engineers and CN don't reach an agreement. The official said Ottawa is concerned about the damage a strike would cause to the economy during the Christmas season. CN rejected a proposal by the Teamsters Union yesterday. The two sides are fighting over a plan to raise the distance that engineers have to travel every month. The union says the increase would force some engineers to work 7 days a week without time off. The union fears it could also trigger layoffs. Engineers have been on strike since Friday.
The province's driving instructors are marching on Queen's Park this afternoon, demanding back-to-work legislation. The 3-month-long strike between Ontario's drive test employees and Secrodes Incorporated has hit a boiling point with many of the out-of-work instructors. They claim they are the collateral damage and are falling into debt. 93 exam centres have been closed since the strike began in August. Those on strike claim job security, wages, and seniority as their reasons for walking off the job.
Patients taking expensive colorectal cancer drug Avastin will now be covered for an extra 16 weeks by Ontario. Doctors say using it with chemotherapy drugs help people live 2 years longer. Queen's Park has been criticized for paying for only 32 weeks of treatment. That forced patients to buy it themselves. Avastin costs close to $3,000 per dose.
Conservative candidate Porfirio Lobo has claimed victory in Honduras' controversial presidential election. This is the first election since a June 28th coup polarized Honduras amongst the Americas. After former President Manuel Zelaya was ousted, there was a heavy-handed military crackdown followed by crisis talks to try and solve the nation's internal problems. Lobo is vowing to form a national unity government as well as bring investment back to the country's depleted coffee and banana industries, which suffered greatly over the tense last 5 months. And those are today's top news stories. Now let's send it over to Brad Pritchard for a look at all the buzz in the entertainment world.
Thanks, Shawn, and hello everyone. Bram Stoker continues to roll in his grave as New Moon, the latest movie in the Twilight saga, manages to dominate theaters for the second week in a row. It raked in $42.5 million in North America. Aficionados of the teenage vampire romance novels came out in droves last weekend when New Moon opened to the tune of an estimated $140 million. The football drama The Blind Side was eclipsed by Twilight. It managed to make $40 million in its second week at the box office. It looks like the show is going to go on for Cirque du Soleil. The Montreal-based acrobatic circus says recent debt problems from Dubai World, which owns 20% of the Cirque, won't have any negative impacts on its operations. Dubai World is a government-operated company which has asked not to pay investors any of its $52 billion in debt. And finally, Roman Polanski may still be under arrest in Switzerland for an outstanding warrant for child molestation, but soon he will be living in luxury. The Polish-born filmmaker is waiting to see if he will be extradited to the United States to face trial for having sex with a 13-year-old girl. That charge dates back to 1976. In the meantime, he has been given permission by authorities to locate to an 1,800 square meter chalet in the Swiss Alps. Polanski will have to remain on the property or else face losing $4.5 million in bail. But officials fear this may not be enough to prevent him from fleeing the country. And they say celebrities get all the special treatment. Well, that does it for entertainment news. We got to pay some bills, so stay tuned after the commercial break for the Sports Report with Ciaran Thompson.
Centennial College. Start here, don't look back. Find something you will. Centennial College. Start here, don't look back. If you don't love what you do, go find something you will. Centennial College. Start here, don't look back.
Welcome back. Hi folks, I'm Ciaran Thompson. Here's the latest in the wild world of sports. Saskatchewan fans are in for a rough ride home today. A late field goal sealed a comeback for the Montreal Alouettes to win the Grey Cup last night Last year, the Owls were upset at home on home turf by the Calgary Stampeders. It looked to be another upset victory last night until Montreal came back from being down 15 points. Owls kicker Damon Duval kicked a field goal with no time left in the game from 33 yards. Seconds before, he had missed, but the Rough Riders were penalized for having too many men on the field. Montreal quarterback Anthony Calvillo passed for 314 yards and 2 touchdowns. This was his second Grey Cup win. Rough Riders running back Wes Katz rushed for 91 yards and also had 24 yards in the air. Grey Cup MVP Avon Coburn had 84 yards on the ground. He had 64 receiving yards and scored 1 touchdown. It was a dramatic finish to the 97th Grey Cup. Final score, Montreal 28, Saskatchewan 27. The Toronto Maple Leafs are looking to extend their longest winning streak of the season tonight to 3 games. They host the Buffalo Sabres at the ACC. The Sabres are coming off back-to-back wins. They sit 5th in the Eastern Conference, 5 points behind New Jersey. Leafs forward Phil Kessel has been red hot. He has scored 8 goals, totaling 11 points since return to the ice. After tonight's game, the Leafs go on a 3-game road trip starting in Montreal. The last place Leafs are hoping to crawl out of the deep end of the East. Last time the two teams met, Buffalo took the 3 points with an overtime win. Puck drops at 7. Running on the treadmill can help your physical endurance, but you may be on your way to injuring yourself without knowing it if you're not careful. Stephanie Leung has this report.
Whether it's running on a treadmill or outside, the impact will take a toll on your joints. Kimberly Hoy, a 21-year-old student on the University of Guelph's swim team, injured her left knee because of the impact while running on it.
Ever since I joined the swim team, I've been running on a treadmill either at home or at the gym any chance I get because I wanted to improve my endurance and my speed, but I never thought that it would injure my knees as well.
She's been using the treadmills at the gym and at home since she joined the team 3 years ago, but she started feeling pain in her left knee in the summer. She went to see a doctor, and he said running on the treadmill may have caused impact to her knees. Extreme fitness trainer Ray Ramono say it is also because she wasn't wearing the proper shoes.
A lot of people don't wear the proper shoes when they go to run.
What kind of shoes should they wear?
You actually should have a runner. I tend to find cross-training shoes, shoes with an elevated heel. For example, you see a lot of brands out there that the heels are quite high because they have a lot of padding and things like that. That'll throw off your actual running stride sometimes for some people.
I always wear these Reeboks when I run, but I didn't know these with the high tops could potentially hurt your knees, so I'm not wearing them anymore.
Kimberly is now exercising using the elliptical. Her doctor says it won't affect her knees. She hopes to compete with Guelph on the swim team in the new year. Stephanie Lowe, Observer TV News, Toronto.
It's Monday. Are you ready for some football? Tonight, the New Orleans Saints host the New England Patriots in NFL action. The Saints look to remain undefeated. They are 10-0. The Pats are 7-3 and are first in the AFC Eastern Conference. The Indianapolis Colts are the only other undefeated team in the NFL. You can catch the game live on TSN at 8:30. FIFA is considering having more referees at the World Cup this summer. After the handball by France against Ireland in qualifying, FIFA has been blasted with media attention. A committee is going to meet in Cape Town on Wednesday to discuss the possibility of having extra officials at games. The draw for the World Cup takes place on Friday. Also being discussed will be whether Ireland will be added to the World Cup. The Football Association of Ireland has requested Ireland be put in as a 33rd team. After the Ireland-France qualifier, the FAI asked for the match to be replayed. It was rejected by FIFA. And that's all from the sports world. Now here's Saba Taye with her thoughts about the Humane Society.
Thanks, Ciaran. We've all hated our bosses at one time or another. However, imagine having a boss who made your workplace a house of horrors. During the wake of the recession, the Humane Society made it clear to the public that there was plenty of funding and donations to care for the animals. If this is the truth, why did the OSPCA find cats and dogs with untreated mouth and eye sores? Why did they find cat food up to 6 years past expiry still being served? And if there are financial problems, why are legal fees for Stephen Sheridan being paid for by the donations? The same donations that could have been used for fresh food and medicine. This is exactly why people don't like donating money to a good cause. Chief Veterinarian Sheridan couldn't stand up to Trout, but that makes him just as guilty as Trout. And those are my thoughts. Stay with us for more after the break. To go with that.
Okay, you're gonna fix it.
6, Now serving number 6.
You don't have to wait forever for the career of your choice. With Fast Track at Centennial College, complete a program in business, technology, or healthcare, and get working in as little as 8 months. Fast Track. To learn more, contact Centennial College.
If you don't love what you do, go find something you will. Centennial College. Start here, don't look back. Go find something you will. Centennial College. Start here, don't look back. If you don't love what you do, go find something you will. Centennial College. Start here, don't look back.
Welcome back and hello everyone. The Toronto Humane Society and its employees have been front and center in the news since the OSPCA and Toronto Police raided their headquarters on Thursday. Investigating serious allegations of neglect, the police arrested and laid blanket charges against a lot of Humane Society officials and staff. And even though some of the animals were in unimaginable condition, it's easy to forget that not everyone is guilty of one man's crimes. The head vet for the shelter, Stephen Sheridan, has a notorious reputation within the community for being an excellent veterinarian. Even though past OSPCA investigations at the shelter, his name has never cropped up. It begs the question, is it fair to punish a person for being a bystander? If that were the case, wouldn't that discourage genuinely caring people from volunteering at places like that in the future for fear of repercussion? Some people have no control over the environment they work in. They just want to do what they can to make an abhorrent situation a little bit better. And those are my thoughts for Observer TV News. Now back to the anchor desk for the wrap.
And that's what's making news this hour. Stay with us for more coming up. Check our website anytime, torontoobserver.ca.
On behalf of all of us at Observer TV News, thanks for watching and have a great day.